what pressure washer is like a good starter pressure washer?
Hey there, Internet. Keith here. A really good setup just makes things just so much more fun. For some people, let's wait a year and let's buy it all at once, but I don't want to wait a year. I want to start now.
What would you say the first budget tier is?
There's a whole bunch of good stuff out there in that $20, $30 range for a foam cannon. Before I get the hose and the gun, I get the foam cannon. And that's why the 2.0 is so great, because it bridges the gap. No, don't cheap out on the spray gun.
And give us the brand that you like.
It's going to give you the same performance, actually more performance than a Krenzler.
What are you going to upgrade next?
The gun is the first thing for me.
Okay.
Then the hose. That's where you want to spend the most money, is on what's in your hand the most.
Yeah.
Is the spray gun.
Time to talk pressure washers with Cars with Keith.
My favorite thing.
Michael Keaveney, correct?
Correct.
But they know you on the internet, the interwebs.
As Keeve.
Keeve.
Yep.
How do you?
Nickname I've had since I was a kid.
We're having an amazing week out here. We've got Pan the Organizer, Rick from Rad Garage. We have got Mr. Fab, Brian from Fab Automotive Detailing, and also Michael here, Keeve. And you've been dropping little wisdom nuggets like along the way. I'm hearing you talking about the handle and the pressure washers, and you've made your YouTube channel has really been successful as you've talked about pressure washers and setups. And I just wondered if we could just start, like I was saying, let's say my dad sends me a text and is like, hey, what's the best pressure washer for auto detailing? We get a lot of texts like that,
yeah.
You know, in DMs and everything, comments. I never quite know how to answer that question. So you spend a lot of time on your channel. I wonder, you know, if someone's curious, like, where should they start?
The biggest thing is you need to know your budget and where you're going to go with your budget. If like in a year you feel like you're going to redesign it, then it might be better to wait and invest, or just start and just slowly, because once you get hooked with the bug, it just starts spiraling out of control. Like you want that, start out that Ryobi pressure washer, that Greenworks at Home Depot. It can be used around the house later on. Like not like it goes away when you get your detailing oriented type pressure washer. And then you'll upgrade your hose, and then you'll upgrade your gun, and then you'll start learning about orifice sizes and how they change your flow of water and the pressure and everything. And then next thing you know, like, I want a better hose, I want this, and it just spirals out of control.
Well, and that's why I don't even know how to answer people's questions, and why initially, I remember learning about pressure washers from one channel and buying an expensive one there, and wanting the idea of a plug-and-play solution. And now there's a lot of them out there, but I just see the traction you're getting. So what would you say the first budget tier is? And give us the brand that you like, and let's start there.
So in this budget tier, am I pulling in everything?
I don't know.
Or am I pulling in just the pressure washer?
I don't know. You know the people out there who watch your channel more than I.
Yeah.
Because we sell products, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we know about pressure washers. We have a Krenzler right here in the studio. I'm grateful for that. It's an awesome machine. But I just wonder, what is that entry-level tier? Because start with the guy who's really trying to do it for as little as possible, right? I don't know, $150?
For a decent setup, $150 to $170. That's going to get you your foam cannon, a decent gun, a decent hose, a pressure washer, and the fittings that you need. And you don't need all the fittings. You just need a couple of fittings to make, but you can keep adding things to make your life better and easier. Like, you don't have to have a swivel, but a swivel is really nice. And the internet, thanks to Amazon and all these companies, things have gotten cheap. You can get a $20, M20, it's called an M22 fitting, is what most pressure washers come with as the output. And the hose usually comes with it. So if you just want to upgrade your gun from the long gun to the short gun, you can it's $20 on Amazon for a Suprints foam cannon, a Suprints spray gun, and it's got a swivel at the bottom of it. It goes right into the factory hose. And you've already shortened it up, because in America, you can't import a pressure washer with a short gun because they think you're going to shoot your eye out. So when it comes, some of them come with a short gun, but you'll never be able to use the nozzles in the box with the short gun. There'll always be a different size. It'll be some adapter that you have to use with a big wand to get it to work. So you can't shoot your eye out. That's what it's basically.
And you had to learn all this.
I had to learn all this. I actually learned a lot of this from Matt from the Suds Garage.
Yeah. And that's who I originally bought my Krenzler from, was Matt from Suds Garage. And it was like a very expensive setup. But it was kind of plug and play, but that was almost like $2,000 back in the day. So I'm just wondering, what pressure washer is like a good starter pressure washer?
I'd say, like, if you just want a pressure washer that's gonna last you a while and gives you that little extra, like an Active 2.0, that's gonna be about $350. It's got twice the life of a normal, say, Ryobi is about 100 hours, 80 to 100 hours. A 2.0 will give you about 200 hours of life. And it's going to give you the same performance, actually more performance than a Krenzla.
So is that just the pressure washer and then we're adding from there?
Yeah. The 2.0 does come with everything, though. It comes with a nice 20-foot wire braided hose. So it's got a decent hose that comes with it. It's got the longer gun that isn't great. You're going to want to upgrade that. But I think if you have the budget for it, that's a great one to have. But if you only have $300, then I would go a step down and run the Greenworks Ryobi Craftsman style, and I would get everything around it to make a nice cohesive setup.
I was gonna say, how much it's been a while since I ran like a real budget level pressure washer. So how much is customizable when you get, say, one of those cheaper pressure washers?
Everything.
Everything is. So let's say you get your first pressure washer for, what's that gonna cost on Amazon? Or
$100.
$100. What are you gonna upgrade next?
The next thing, the gun is the first thing for me.
Okay.
Then the hose.
And what do you,
And then obviously you gotta have a foam cannon, because the one that comes in the box is horrible.
We love the MJJC. Is it
MJJC, but you understand, like, the MJJC is gonna cost as much as your pressure washer.
I know,
So
it's wild.
In the world today, I don't know if it's white label, but there's a lot of MJJC copies out there that give you the same performance, the same type of manifold for like $25, $30. So there's a whole bunch of good stuff out there in that $20, $30 range for a foam cannon.
Okay, so
that'll give you the same performance of an MJJC. The bottle might not be as strong, but it's almost the same foam level.
And if folks are curious, how do they sift through all the noise out there? How do they know where to find those? On your channel, or is there a specific brand?
I got a video and everything, but Bear Force foam cannon, if you search on Amazon, is probably the best all around with like the quality, the build. I mean, obviously it's not as durable. It's a clear bottle, so a clear bottle is going to break if you drop it.
But they look cool.
They do look cool, and then the chemicals look good, and you can see that your chemicals have been diluted properly in the bottle. You don't have large clumps of soap spiraling around that you're going to suck up through the tube at inconsistent rates. I love the clear bottle, but just don't drop it.
Got it. Okay, Bear Force.
Bear Force, and if you're using a Ryobi or Greenworks, you get into the orifice sizes in the back of the foam cannon. Most of them nowadays come with a 1.1, just a smaller hole. The smaller the hole, the more pressure, the more it agitates and creates foam.
Is there any reason you'd want a bigger hole, or is the small hole is that a good smaller size?
Smaller hole the better, as long as when you use that, you don't push the pressure washer's amps or watts beyond its rated amount. And you can get like an amp meter for $12 on Amazon. Plug it in, plug your pressure washer into it, tell you your amps. On the box, it always tells you, is it a 13 amp motor, 1500 watt, 1800 watt, whichever you want to use. And as you make that hole size smaller, it's going to strain the motor, and the amps and the draw is going to go up. You never want to go above the rating for the pressure washer. So as you get into the bigger pressure washers, they create so much water flow that when you restrict it, it puts a lot of load on the motor. So you make the hole bigger as the pressure washer gets better.
I want to know ultimately your dream setup, and I know you have it in your garage, but for our viewers who may not know your channel, we'll get there. I still want to deal with
it's like there's a money no object.
Yeah.
And then there's because it depends. I'm an enthusiast. Active 2.3 as high as an AR630. I myself don't go to Krenzla because the cost for a home enthusiast, I don't think you get. They're about durability and length of lifespan and the rebuildability. AR630 as well. A mobile detailer, a detailer that washes all day long, I actually would gravitate probably more towards a Krenzla, or at least an AR630. That's like that next tier. You got Active 2.0 at 350, Active 2.3, AR630, Comet 1700, and the big boy pressure washers at that 6 to 750 range.
Well, I want to know more about that and then how you outfit it, but I'm still thinking, so Greenworks, Ryobi, budget level pressure washer. So the first thing you're going to upgrade is?
I think it all depends on, some people don't mind the long gun, and they hate how the stock hose coils. They're really they're not flexible.
They're such a pain.
They're crazy. An Uber Flex or a Flexzilla hose works really well for that. But I wouldn't suggest using those in your upgrade path. So it's not a hose that you're going to want to upgrade to a Krenzla or an Active 2.0 because the Actives have issues with the Flexilla hoses because they're not wire braided. They're really flexible because there's nothing restricting the inner diameter really from expanding. And that expansion messes with the pressure switch, causes the Active 2.0 to surge.
So that's if we go further up.
Yeah, but I know people with the higher end ones, Flexillas work fine in Uberflex, but it's the Actives that they state on their website, wire braided hose only.
Okay.
So.
Remind me to keep. I'm still El Cheapo version. So, and I know there's variables, and that's why it's so complicated. That's why there's so many channels and videos about this. But cheapo pressure washer. So I have two options really when I'm thinking of upgrading. Maybe I want that Bare Force foam cannon because you got to have a good foam cannon. And now I'm thinking, the handle or the hose upgrade. Are those my two main choices there?
And in your budget, how many feet do you need? Do you need 50 feet? Most cars are 20 to 20. Most longer cars are 23 feet long. A big truck. Do you need 50 feet? Where are you positioning the pressure washer?
Okay.
That's going to be a key. Are you mounting it on the wall? You might need 50 feet because you have to angle yourself around a corner, to get to the back of the truck. If you have the pressure washer in the garage and the car's outside, you might need the 50 feet. But if you're bringing your pressure washer outside towards your car, 35 feet might be all that you need, and you can save a few dollars. Like an Uberflex, 35 feet is going to be $35 to $40 versus $50 for a 50 foot. So you can save $10, $15 here that you could use towards some quick connects or something like that.
And I know when I used to do a lot on my Hawk Pro detailing channel, and I interviewed a guy who made kegs, Dave Barker, I believe he made detail kegs, and he was telling me all about, it doesn't matter how long your hose is when you're dealing with pressurized, options, but with a hose, do you lose pressure the longer it is?
After 100 feet, that's when you need to worry about.
Okay, so 35 to 50 feet is no big deal.
50 foot on a 1/4 inch hose, you could go to 100, but if you go to 100 feet, I prefer a 3/8 inch hose. Just a little more inner diameter, that helps.
Okay.
There is such a thing as pressure drop at length. Same thing with electrical cords. There's a voltage drop over length. The more flow matters. Like if you had a garden hose that was, like at the house, I water my grass manually. When I get over 100 feet, I notice a difference in how my sprinklers work.
Yes.
When I get to 150, 200, I notice that sprinklers, they just don't have the oomph because they're carrying water such a long distance.
And again, because we're DIY detail, I'm always trying to think of, like, if I was just starting out, what do I need? What can I figure out later in terms of the nuances and the rabbit holes? So 35 to 50 foot with a entry level pressure washer, you might see a difference, you might not. It's not a huge deal
50 feet or less, you'll feel no difference.
You'll feel no difference, okay.
And it's the diameter of the hose, you'll see no difference at all.
Okay, and it's easy to do that. And then, okay, talk about handles or triggers, or what, I don't even know.
Guns.
Trigger guns.
So you got so many different ways of trigger guns because SGS 28 MTM, that's kind of high end for a cheap setup. NTM, but you could go SG 28, which is cheaper, but it doesn't have the swivel built in.
Okay, SG 28 is another brand.
SG 28 is MTM, SGS 28 is the same, but it's nickel plated on the inside, it uses stainless connectors, and it has a swivel built in. It's the same design, the same angle, because the MTM pressure washer guns were meant for industrial cleaning, which normally happens at a high angle, so the angle of the spray is actually slightly angled up. The newer ones like the McKillens, the Active, and other ones, the angle is actually dead straight, so when you hold it in your hand, there's no fatigue. You're not, because if it's angled up, you have to turn your wrist down to wash the top of your car.
Yes.
But when you get towards the bottom, you have to angle up, so that angle helps you. So, it just depends. Some people find more fatigue in those. Some find it's less fatiguing with the straight angle. For me, it's about the grip pull, which is why I prefer the MTM. I prefer that's where you want to spend the most money, is on what's in your hand the most.
Yeah.
Is the spray gun. And the feel, I have one that's 4 years old and I still use it. I just bought a new one for a comparison video, but I still have the old one. I retrofitted it to my electric sprayers for spraying fertilizer in the grass. And that feel, when I hold it, I can just hold it like this and don't have to pull my fingers tight. It just sprays. And some of them, the trigger is so tight. Like I'll put a gauge on it. The SGS 28's like less than a pound, 11 ounces of pull force. Some of them are 5 or 6 pounds of pull force. And it's not just that initial pull. That's how much force you have to keep held on the trigger to keep it held down, giving you all that fatigue all the way up your arm.
And we're okay with fatigue if that's what you want when you're going to the gym or running, doing exercise, but there's certain fatigue points in your body that we really don't want to mess with. So it's like, that's why I was like listening to you and I was just like feeling your expertise and passion. I was like, I'm so grateful to be having this conversation.
Well, a
This is
good
awesome.
setup
Like, I can
also makes car washing more enjoyable.
Yes.
And that's the biggest thing. The foam part is therapeutic to me, so that's the biggest reason. It makes me want to wash the car.
Yes.
So the foam process has to be there. But making it easier to rinse and not having to swivel and having a hose that doesn't coil on me all the time, those little things that make me mad, frustrated, they go away. It makes the whole wash experience more enjoyable.
So let's talk about that. You mentioned swivel. You mentioned, the long handle versus a short gun. You're willing to upgrade a little bit more. Let's say you've done your entry-level pressure washer and you're like, I'm not ready for the Kranzel, but maybe in that $300 to $500 range. Like, I'm willing to spend a little bit of money. I'm upgrading my garage. I just got a new car. I really want to do this right. We know when the bug bites us, like how excited we get about all this stuff. It's easy to spend money. So I imagine, like, in the whole scheme of detailing, like, how important do you think having a enjoyable pressure washer setup is, first of all?
For me, it's the biggest thing. It's like, it attracts me to it, makes me want to do it. It's like, I geek out on these things, which is different for me. Some people don't geek out on mechanical type stuff, but a really good setup just makes things just so much more fun.
So that's the reason why. If you don't know yet, that's the reason why. So you've had that gut feeling of like, yes, I want this, right? I've got a little bit more money to spend.
Which is why you could add other things outside of the pressure washer. You could add a battery foamer, so you're not pumping a sprayer all day long. Like,
what's your favorite battery foamer?
Money No Object would be an IK sprayer with an inflator built into it. Until they come out with their new battery powered sprayer at the end of the year, that's just the best. Or IK Foam Pro 12 with the battery built into it.
Yeah, because we do love foam and all clean at 15-1. I just clean.
Yeah, and I do it like on the car when I do rinseless. I use 15-1 all clean on the back. Well, 1 ounce of Incredible Suds in there as well to get that foam.
A little touch of Incredible Suds, to help it
the
clean.
Foam Pro 12. It's a really nice addition, but that's a very expensive addition because if you just invested $200 in a wash setup,
the
IK Foam Pro 12 Plus is $100-something. You add the battery to it or an inflator, that's going to be close to another $100.
It adds up quick, doesn't it?
It does.
And all of these things will actually legitimately make detailing more efficient and more fun, but you can do it with just a spray bottle. So that's like the paradox of it all. Is like,
you can do it with a garden hose. You don't have to have
define how much better it's going to make your life, but I guess, buy nice or buy twice. Like, if you're starting to realize, I don't want this thing to break on me, I want to be able to service it, then the machine you'd recommend is the Active 2.0?
Yeah, you get that $300 to $500 range. That's the Active 2.0.
Okay.
It's like when you don't have to feel like when you're upgrading that you're missing something out if you start out with the Ryobi, because there's always somebody that you could give it to help them get into detailing.
Okay.
Or there's, you can leave it around the house to do the house stuff, because it does have a slightly higher pressure than, say, an Active 2.0 for cleaning around the house.
Do I have to know about, you mentioned orifice and, CFM, like, what other stuff do I need to know about? Or what if I just kind of want a plug and play option in that $300 to $500 range? Like,
in the $300 to $500 range, the Active 2.0 already comes with the orifices you need.
Okay.
Specifically geared to be as efficient as possible for washing a car.
So this is dedicated to washing cars. We're not talking about
anything else.
Yeah, and that's the...
Yeah, a lot of the companies, they'll give you a pressure washer and they'll give you 4 nozzles, and all 4 of those nozzles are different sizes. There's, your 15 degrees for your concrete. It's going to be a smaller hole, more pressure. The white 40-degree fans for washing a car, it's going to be a larger hole, less pressure, more flow. So it's more efficient to rinse a car off the more water you have coming out of the nozzle.
Got it. So the Active 2.0, and are you going to upgrade the hose at that level? And if so, what's kind of the hose you like there?
It depends on what hose I would have chosen the first mount, but if I chose an Uberflex...
Let's say this, there's the good, better, and best.
Yeah.
I've even heard, getting coached when I started my detailing business. Give them 3 options, they'll pick the middle one. So maybe someone hasn't done anything yet, and they're just like, I'm a middle option kind of guy for the value.
Yeah.
So let's say this is their first time.
I mean, the Active 2.0, just a 1/4-inch, 50-foot wire-braided hose. And at that point, you still don't have to go crazy with the quick connects, because you could just choose an M22 hose that doesn't have them. And the gun that you got in your early cheap setup that has the M22 swivel, you already have everything you need. You go up to the pressure washer, your gun, and you're good to go. The quick connects just make life easier if you store things. But if they're always hooked up, you barely ever use the quick connects, except changing nozzles out.
Yeah.
Usually the hose always stays connected to the gun, or the gun always stays connected to the pressure washer. So those are nice to haves.
So what quick connect upgrades are worthwhile? I know there's stainless steel and there's all kinds of different. Like
I prefer stainless because it just looks better.
Looks better.
Brass is still gonna. I mean, they're both corrosion resistant. There's nothing you're gonna do that you're ever gonna wear out as an enthusiast of brass fitting. The stainless just looks better. Stainless has gotten cheaper too. So you can go on Amazon, find you 4 quick connects with two female quick connects that's gonna connect from your hose to your gun. And then it'll come with 2 male quick connects that you can put on your pressure washer and then connect your hose to the pressure washer. $15. And the brass version is like $14, $13. So it's like $2 more for a much more aesthetically pleasing. And the stainless steel, the tolerances on the quick connect, they're more satisfying.
I'm gonna send you this video as an unlisted on YouTube before it airs. Would you mind? And we'll put your links that you can get commission from. Linking things that are
Sure.
connected to. Okay, so if you're wondering like what is he talking about, links are all in the description. You can support Michael that way because you get a small amount. I
appreciate it. Yeah.
And that's you're trying. We were talking
Pressure
about
washers cost a lot of money.
you don't get them free. You buy them and review them, and like these are not cheap. So it's hard on the back end of YouTube. It's also something that I think we're both really grateful for that we're here because of YouTube, and so we're not complaining about it. But if you can support him, that'd be a great thing to do. So. Was there a brand of hose you mentioned that you threw a lot of dimensions out there? I didn't.
And on brands of hoses, it's in the cheaper setup. I prefer the Uberflexes because they're proven.
They're proven.
As you get into the upper ones, most of them are all the same. They're just rebranded. Like a lot of them, they're all made in China. MTM, like the gray, just call it gray non-marking hose, 50 foot. They're basically all the same.
Okay.
4,000 psi. The black wire braided hoses with the M22s, they're basically all just about the same as well.
So I'd get my nice hose, and then like what is your trigger? What was your one of choice?
STS 28.
From MTM.
MTM STS 28 is my pick.
Okay.
Second pick would be the McKillen's Pro Swivel, but the price is slightly elevated higher than I think it should be for the market.
What does that one cost?
About $100.
Okay.
I think if it was right at $80 with the STS 28, that it would be a solid seller.
Okay.
But that $20 means a lot to people.
It does, really? Because my head's already spinning with how much this would be. It's like, I don't know, at this point, are you even counting it? But everyone's counting every cent,
That's
right?
why sometimes it's for some people, let's wait a year and let's buy it all at once. But I don't want to wait a year. I want to start now.
Okay.
Give me the Ryobi. I'll upgrade every little thing over time. And like I said, what I upgrade, I can give and help somebody else out down the road. Like if my son moves out and gets a house, I have a pressure washer to pass on to him. And then I'll go get, just like we did the car. I gave him in my car when he turned 16, and I got my show car. And just like the pressure washer, I would give him the Ryobi and then move on to the higher end. I would probably skip a level. I would go straight to an AR630 or something like Active 2.3.
Well, okay, so we're on the 2.0, but we're already talking about the nice upgrades. Your favorite MTM, and then
once you touch those, you'll never want to touch the other ones.
Well, that's
the difference. It's like people don't understand is I have the advantage because I buy these. I review them. I get to touch them. I understand what it is, and once I touch them, I don't want to go back. So you'll notice the difference in the gun, the spray, the difference between the Ryobi and the Active, the AR, stuff like that. And that's why the 2.0 is so great because it bridges the gap from $100 to $700 at that mid-range and gives you the performance of all of the $800 to $1,500 pressure washers.
So you can be a happy camper with the Active 2.0, customizing, upgrading from there.
Yes. There's people with $1,000 wash cart setups and they have the Active 2.0 because that keeps it at $1,000.
Yeah.
If you add $400 more for a pressure washer, now you got a $1,400 wash cart.
So you want the foam cannon upgrade at this point, or do you still like the?
When I get the pressure washer before I get the hose and the gun, I get the foam cannon.
And what are you choosing?
At that price range, I'm choosing the Bear Force foam cannon.
Oh, you are.
Or the new PWCC. It's like $19.99, and it foams almost like an NJJC.
Really?
Yes, and it has a clear and an opaque bottle. It has both, so you can choose your durable bottle or your clear bottle. But I just prefer the Bear Force because it's just the manifold and everything is just built a little bit better, and a lot of those things are aesthetically pleasing to me, and that's why sometimes I choose those. It's not necessarily because it performs better or not.
What's the thing that you should cheap out on as you're building entry to mid-level pressure washer, and what's the thing that you shouldn't cheap out on? And I
spray
don't say
gun.
cheap out on, but like,
The spray gun.
cheap out on or no?
No, don't cheap out on the spray gun.
Okay, because that's what you're touching all the time.
Yep. So like I said, you could go the $20 spray gun, because $80 for an SGS 28 is a lot of money. So you can start out at 20. That'll make you appreciate the MTM later on, because you're gonna feel the difference. But for me, it's what I'm always touching, and that's the one thing I'm going to abuse the most. So the pressure washer never drops off the shelf; it just runs. So the gun is where I would go.
And the thing that you think maybe you don't need to upgrade right away, that you could go for the cheap option, would that be just to keep the hose or something? Or
You could keep the gun and adapt the gun down, because most of those longer guns have an extra wand with an adapter, because you can't put the nozzle on the shorter part. You could get an adapter that takes that wand and makes it this long. So now you have a gun that's this long instead of this long. Because if you put a foam cannon with 32 ounces of liquid in it at the end of something this long, that is going to put a ton of strain on you. You're going to have to two-hand the whole thing, and it's going to make it not as enjoyable.
And that's
by adapting it down with an $11 adapter and putting your foam cannon on there, you can foam with that longer setup.
And not have to
upgrade. I mean, you could just do it that way if you wanted to.
Because that's one thing you don't realize when you first start our detailing. You're like, why would I want the shorter gun? Like, I guess it kind of looks cool. It's like, oh, because the foam cannon at the end.
Everybody's different though, so what somebody else may appreciate may be something different.
I remember buying, I think from Matt, it was like a long adapter with like a curve at the end.
Angled wand.
Is that a hot thing anymore? Like
I don't use wands.
Okay.
Because I don't want to have to take it off. I prefer to be closer to the car.
Yeah, and just flip
And
yeah.
it's meant more for hoods, for roofs and stuff like that, but I don't want to have to take it off. But all the cars I have are lower profile. If I had a bigger truck, bigger SUV, then you would definitely need the angled wand to get that roof area. Unless you use a step stool. If you use a step stool, then you don't need the angled wand.
And we're big on step stools here and not climbing on tires.
I use like a platform that's like half stool platform that's really long, so you don't have to keep moving it around when you're on top of a car. You can put it in the middle and then go from one end to the other and not have to move it.
That makes sense. All right, so now we're going to upgrade. Now we're going to, and one thing we were talking about, because we have the Kranzel in here. The Kranzel
is amazing.
It's quiet, right?
And it's quiet.
So you admit that it's an amazing machine.
It's an amazing machine. I would never doubt it. But performance-wise, you don't get what you can get from an active. And I'm just like this number-based guy. And I know I'll never use a Kranzel to the point to where I'll need something that lasts 10 years. Like if I washed 5 cars a day, I would probably run a Kranzel. Or, well, if I had ran a real detailing business, you would not want to believe the setup that I would have. So
what would it be?
I would, if it was in the building, I'd be running like a big 2-phase, 3-phase ball door motor, just like massive pump, 3-4 gallons per minute, just crazy setup. Something that you wouldn't be able to do at your normal house. Like you would need industrial wiring or a 440 volt, something like that. Just crazy.
And why?
But you could put a 220 in your garage. That's what you run a washing machine with.
Well, why would you need that if the Kranzel, you can just plug it in and it's good to go?
It's because the flow.
And what is the flow?
That flow's coming out of it.
Tell me the flow.
The amount of water coming out of the sprayer mixed with the pressure creates an overall better cleaning unit, they call it. There's an equilibrium of, the amount of flow and the amount of pressure. When those two meet, it's the perfect amount of cleaning units. So like you got a gas pressure washer. You can run 3,000 PSI at 2 gallons a minute. On the cheaper electrics, you can get 2,000 PSI, but it's at like 1.2 gallons per minute. So the gas pressure washer is going to feel more powerful at the same PSI because you have twice the amount of water coming out at that same pressure. And the more flow, the easier it is to rinse. And the easier it is to clean at a safe pressure. You can keep dialing your pressure down because if you're running 3-4 gallons a minute, you can run 800 pressure. And then if you're somebody who, like me, I prefer 800-900 PSI, use a 25-degree nozzle because you're taking that wide 40-degree fan and you're bringing it down to 25. You're increasing the impact by lessening the fan and focusing that water on a smaller area. So you can bring your pressure down to get you a little more flow, change your nozzle size to get you that same panel impact that you're looking for that cleaning power.
And again, You could still clean a car with a hose.
You can still
and
clean a
that's
car
what's
with a hose.
That's what I was just smiling listening.
I have
I'm
the
like,
most
I love
expensive-
how much you know.
I have the most expensive garden hose sprayer there is, the Elay, and it's amazing. I use it. I water my grass with it. I clean my. The pressure that comes out of it it's crazy. You can wash a car with that all day long. I made a video like one versus the other, and you can get just as clean. It isn't as fun. The pressure washer's fun, but some people the pressure washer isn't as fun because they have it stored on the shelf in the corner of the garage. The hose isn't hooked up. It's coiled up. The gun is lost. It might not actually be right there with it.
Yeah.
The foam cannon is somewhere else, so it feels like a chore to drag all that out. The
Totally.
water hose is usually just sitting right there near the garage or on the side of the house. A lot of people just find it easier to use the garden hose.
Yeah, if you have it set up and it's ready to go, it's a joy to wash your car.
Well, that's why a wash cart is a cool thing. You get the pressure washer on there, you get a hose reel on there. All you have to do is drag the water hose to the cart. You're closer to the car. You don't need as long of a hose length. You don't have to keep going back to the garage to the shelf to grab the iron remover, to grab water spot remover. It's all on the cart. So I think a cart is a great investment. Like, stick with the cheap pressure washer, buy a $100 cart versus upgrading to the pressure washer, the next pressure washer.
I know a lot of guys in garages and gals, they have it, mounted or whatever, and that
Mounted on the wall.
That seems very intimidating to me to try to mount something.
Well, you also have to have usually when you have a wall mount setup, you have to have a spigot. A lot of people don't have a water source in the garage.
Yeah.
And most houses, when they're built with a garage, it's almost impossible to get the water to the garage once the house is built because they're built like on an L and the water source is here and you'd have to.
So what's your recommendation if you don't have it in the garage?
Well, I mean, you could always do a wall setup and you just have your input. You just bring your hose to it every time you do it.
Okay, and that's the labor, and everything else is already set up and ready to go.
Yeah, or you could use like a siphoned type pressure washer. The Crenslers do that. You can have a big old water jug in the garage of spotless water, and you could siphon it and use that water as well.
Okay.
There's so many ways to do it, but if it's intimidating and you don't have a water source in the garage, the wash cart is the way to go.
I'm sure you have videos on that.
I sure do.
So we'll make
6
sure to
different versions.
We'll put some links in the description. So okay, we're getting to like our dream setup, right? And I know there's variables forever and always. What machine are we buying? You've dropped some hints, and then just like set me up with your money is no object pressure washer setup.
So yeah, money no object. I probably go active 2.3. So there's 2 different things. If I live close to my neighbor, if I'm putting on a wall setup and there's a bedroom on the other side of the wall, or a kitchen or a living room, I would use an AR630.
And is that quieter?
It's quieter. The Active 2.3 has a pleasant hum, but it's very loud, and it carries a very long distance. So 10 feet away, it's the same decibels as it is from just like right next to it. So that carries. It doesn't bother me because my garage is below the kids' bedrooms, and I'm 100 yards in any direction from the next house. So sound doesn't bother me. And when you're 10 to 15 feet away from a car, the pressure and sound of the water coming out of the sprayer and hitting the panel is just as loud as the pressure washer is. And that's the noise that matters, is what's right next to you. You're not standing next to the pressure washer all day long. But if sound is ever a problem, then the AR630. For me, it's like a tie between the two, really. Because the AR630 kind of requires a 20 amp. A lot of people don't have a 20 amp dedicated in their garage. And the Active 2.3 does not require a 20 amp. It works on a 15 amp circuit, so it works on any plug.
So if you can handle the noise, that might be the better option.
Yeah. And if I was to build a wash cart, I would build a wash cart with some kind of sound dampening built into it.
And how do you do that?
Well, you could buy a really nice enclosed toolbox with a very large shelf at the bottom with the big double doors, and put it in there.
And then
buy one that has like the holes on the side, and that way you get your ventilation. And the 2.3 has a fan on the motor, so it cools pretty good. And then you could put some sound deadening on the inside to kind of subside that sound, and then get you that ventilation you need to keep it cool. And then you got plenty of room for a hose reel and all that other stuff.
How do you sound?
You got drawers, a really nice toolbox. You got drawers that you can put all your spray guns and like everything you need. Like if you change the orifice sizes on your foam cannons, you put your screwdrivers in there and all that kind of stuff.
And how do you sound deaden it in there?
Just speaker sound deadening. Like what you would put in like a sound box or something like that. Or even egg crate. Something to just kind of catch the reverb and just kind of, calm it down a little bit.
So you're doing a wash cart with one of those active models. You're doing the MTM
SGS 28.
SGS 28. You go into MJJC, or what's your foam cannon of choice?
I'm currently right now. I would run the MJJC Pro V2.
Pro V2
because that doesn't have the clear bottle. And in the testing the SV3, which has the clear bottle, the manifold is very weak. And on a single drop, the manifold just broke in half.
Really?
Yeah. The Pro V2, they're coming out with Pro V3 soon. Hopefully.
Yeah.
It's been on hold for almost a year now. At some point, it'll come out. Active has a really nice foam cannon coming too, but I have not gotten my hands on it to know how good it is. They have a whole line of really cool products. They have an entire accessory kit coming. The hose, the gun, the foam cannon, a wand with the angled spray, and the quick connects, like all in one accessory.
And then
package.
the swivel, is that part of the MTM, or is that a separate
Swivel's
thing?
part of the gun. But
Okay.
if you have a gun that you like and you don't want to have to buy another gun, you can get an adapter swivel that will connect between the gun and your pressure washer hose. But then again, you're creating this really long, elongated fuse of hardware between the gun and the hose, so your bend point is further away from the hose. So
what does that do?
It's harder to manage the hose because it adds more weight, adds more stress, more fatigue to your wrist because the bend point of the hose is further down. It's not further up.
But you don't realize that matters until you get into the weeds, right?
I didn't realize until today when we did the other video, because you guys have an SG28. Same trigger pull, same gun, just brass internals that aren't coated, and it doesn't have a swivel. So when I got to this side of this Jeep, I always keep the hose behind me so I don't ever get it doesn't ever touch the car. And it started to coil up on me. And I just wasn't used to it. So like that's the kind of thing that would frustrate me when I was washing a car. Like I felt it, it curved on me, and I didn't like the feeling of it.
And that's the thing is, like, we bought we got the nice stuff when we started, and then we just kind of plug and play now. It's here. We travel to Omaha a few times a year and film content for a couple weeks. And then I'm back in Utah, and I don't have a pressure washer. So I love all the nice stuff. I love the people who can share the knowledge, and hopefully you enjoy. By the way, if you're enjoying this knowledge, like, please subscribe to not only Cards with Keith, but the DIY channel. Like,
yeah, don't forget to like too.
Like, subscribe, help support us so we can help support you. And I think this is a unique thing.
And like, we can get a little crazy.
Yeah.
Some people may be off-put because I'm just talking a mile a minute about something I'm passionate about.
Which I appreciate.
But a lot of us, we create the content so you don't have to go through all of this research yourself. We do it for you, so that way when you can pick and have a little more confidence in what you're picking, and we'll take the hit, and hopefully, like we said, everything evens out in the end with the links and the ad revenue and stuff like that. Because a lot of people aren't upfront about that. Like, those things really do help the channel.
They do, for sure. And you do have a lot of expenses. And we were just talking about editing time behind the scenes, and the full-time job you've got, and all the different things that pull on you time-wise. And we don't expect you to, cry a river for us, but I appreciate you saying that so we can help you out with the descriptions links. You've liked Incredible Suds with your foam cannon, and I appreciate you being a fan of DIY for a while and supporting us in that way. What have you noticed based on different setups and how Incredible Suds foams? Like, how do you get the most out of Incredible Suds if you're trying to set the pressure washer up to get the best foam?
The best thing about Incredible Suds is it's incredible. That's the reason I use it. An ounce in the foam cannon, no matter what pressure washer I use, it foams the best out of anything that I've used. And the main reason I use it is because it's just simple. My cars are very clean, so I don't need some crazy soap setup. And Incredible Suds is a cleaning soap. It isn't just a foam.
Right, it's not just a visual.
There's foam soaps out there that all they do is foam, and they lubricate. That's it. They don't clean. Incredible Suds cleans, but it isn't harsh cleaning. So I just prefer it. It just works great.
I want to know any other must-have garage tools, whether it's a sprayer or a foamer or just something that, people fantasize about building their dream garage, and you're in that space. So any other cool stuff you've come across that really just makes detailing more enjoyable or efficient?
The retractable reels.
Oh, I was going to ask you.
Retractable reels.
Okay, yeah. What's your thought on reels?
I did the hand reel for a long period of time, but once I went to the retractable reels, I'll never go back to hand crank. Now, hand crank does help OCD people who want that perfect coil to go all the way across that looks just amazing on, when everything's wrapped all perfect. Retractable reels aren't going to be perfect unless you play with it.
And the retractable reel for your pressure washer setup is what?
Is an actual pressure washer hose reel. It's a fixed fans from Amazon, but it's meant for 4,000 PSI because people will take an air hose reel meant for 300 PSI, and then they will convert it to use pressure washer hose, which works. It does at low pressure. The minute you try to put any extra pressure over 800 to 1,000 PSI, they can explode. The gaskets, they can't hold it. And I know a lot of people who made videos on it, and then later on they're like, yeah, it actually failed in the end. And I just don't want to be responsible for somebody exploding and hitting themselves in the eye or something like that. So I'll make sure I get something that's rated. Now they could say it's rated for 4,000 and it actually be an air hose reel. I don't know. Just the one I have works really well, the fixed fans. And it comes with a curve piece with a quick connect already built into it. So if you have a 3/8" hose with a quick connect male, it just pops right in. You don't have to do any screwing or do any threading or Teflon tape or anything like that.
And then
the Blue Seal garden hose reel.
Okay.
Works really well.
So one reel for each garden hose and pressure washer.
And they make the preferred pressure washer hose that I use. So I use a 50-foot Kevlar hose. And Kevlar gives you the same strength as steel. So the braid is Kevlar instead of wire, which makes it much lighter, about 40% lighter. So you can have that big hose and it be much, much lighter, which means less fatigue, easier, but it's still heavy enough to lay on the floor and not coil up.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you spent all the time researching all this so that we don't have to. Anything that you're excited about, in the future of pressure washing? Because it could almost seem like we've arrived. This is as more advanced as anything will ever get. And of course that's not true. So for the people who don't study this and test it all the time, what are you excited about? What do you want from the future of pressure washing setups?
Right now, I actually have no idea because there's no, like this past spring, everybody was releasing a new pressure washer, Active, Big Boy, all these companies. I'm actually really excited for the new AR Pro. I think it's called the RC3, and it's supposed to be meant for a 15 amp socket. And it's supposed to be amazing. I'm Josh V's already done a video on it. It looks incredible. And I want to try that out. We're limited in America with our 110 volt. Like we can't get what they get in Europe. In Europe, they barely even use gas pressure washers because their electric pressure washers are so good.
Really?
They have 220 volt. 220 volt, you use less amps, which means you can get way more out of the same machine than we could get on a 110 volt. But we're limited here, so you can only get so much out of a 110 volt. Like there is a limit that we're gonna get to that you won't be able to go beyond.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of going beyond, if you want to go beyond this conversation, we have another great podcast that I think you'll enjoy. In the meantime, Mr. Keith,
pleasure.
That was so much fun. Go subscribe to his channel and go check out this video. We'll see you there.